Welcome back to Every Other Carl. I'm Carl, and today I'm at Okemo. I've heard of this mountain for a long time. I've skied a lot of other mountains in Vermont, but this one's on the Epic Pass, which I have this year, so I thought I'd give it a try. The parking sucks, though. Okay, honestly, this is going to be a pretty positive overview of the skiing at Okemo. This mountain is beautiful and has tons of terrain to offer, but I just can't skip over the first part of my day, the parking situation. Sadly, this put a massive dent in my whole experience. I've been lucky enough to experience dozens and dozens of ski resorts, but this is the first time I've ever experienced a mountain straight up running out of parking. This was Saturday, January 28th, 2023. The mountain opens for first runs at 9 a.m., and I arrived right around 9:50 a.m., almost 10. I figured I would probably end up in an overflow parking lot, as you normally would, arriving a little late on a weekend. But when I got to the clock tower base, I was told that all the lots were full, and if necessary, I could get my ticket purchase refunded. There's a main lot at clock tower base, and then 3 overflow lots. They were all full. There's a second base area called Jackson Gore that was also full. The parking staff was really nice and apologetic, but said that people had just been lining up for parking since 6:30 a.m. I thought I could maybe park in the town of Ludlow and walk to base, but literally all the parking in town was taken too. Even if there were spaces in town, the walk up to the Clock Tower Lodge from town, well, it's really steep and really far. Here's the hill you'd have to walk up. Now, there is a free shuttle bus that runs through the town of Ludlow on an hourly basis and takes you up to the Clock Tower Lodge. It runs on weekends and holidays. I was willing to wait an hour for it, but like I said, there just wasn't any parking anywhere in town. So instead of turning around and driving 4 hours back home, I waited in a supermarket parking lot. I waited 2 hours until noon, when enough people had left and they reopened the main parking lot. I was determined at this point and ended up being the second one in. Bottom line, either don't come on a weekend or get here before 8 a.m. if you want to ski. So now we're all caught up. Let's try this again. Welcome back to Every Other Carl. I'm Carl, and today I'm at Okemo. Okemo is located in southern Vermont. It's in a beautiful little town called Ludlow that is surrounded by tons of nature. Okemo is a fairly large resort by East Coast standards with a 2,200-foot vertical drop and 667 acres of skiable terrain. For comparison, it has about 200 more skiable acres than Stowe, but it's less than half the size of Killington. Okemo has a good mix of terrain that favors beginners and intermediates, but also offers some exciting options for advanced skiers. It has 32% beginner, 37% intermediate, 24% advanced, and 7% expert terrain. It also has a super pipe. That's something that's a little hard to come by. However, it was still being built on this January day. To be fair, it's been a mild winter and conditions haven't been that good on the East Coast. As I mentioned in the beginning, Okemo has 2 main base areas, Clock Tower and Jackson Gore. I started my day at noon at the general parking lot at the Clock Tower base. Parking was free, and from there it was an easy walk to the lifts. I took a few runs with friends on the greens here at Clock Tower. There's an awesome green route off of the A quad if you take Ledgewood to Kettlebrook. This is pretty unique green terrain, although it does get a bit steep at the end. I really liked this run. After the greens, we headed up the Sachem Quad to the Glades Peak Quad. In my opinion, this would be a great place to spend the morning. Just taking the fun blues and blacks off of the Glades Peak Quad and South Face Express Quad. There were basically no crowds at the South Face Express. After a few runs on South Face and Glades Peak, we started making our way skiers left with the ultimate goal of getting to Jackson Gore. The trees up here were really beautiful. It's currently right around 3 p.m. I'm at the top of the Solitude lift and I'm heading over to Jackson Gore. So far, I'm pretty impressed with Okemo. There's a lot of variety of terrain. It's regular East Coast skiing, you know, the blacks are not as hard as West Coast blacks, but yeah, beautiful place, great views. Up at the top, there's all this snow-covered trees. I really like it. By the way, a company called Uzi, they sell gloves on Amazon, reached out and sent me a pair of their gloves. I've been wearing them all day. They have this zipper pocket for a hand warmer. You can throw that in there, or I don't know, I guess you can put your ski pass in there too. They're really nice. They have this elastic band, which is very common these days. It keeps your glove hanging off your wrist, even if you take the glove off. I think the materials are pretty high quality, waterproof. They have this fake leather palm, which is good. I think it'll last for a while. I've had gloves like this before. I really like these gloves, and since recording this video, I've actually worn them for 3 more ski days, and I've grown to like them even more. The gloves retail for around $43 on Amazon, and depending on when you're watching this, they're currently running a 24% discount, making them right around $33 total. If you want to check them out, I left a link in the description. Thanks for sending me a pair, Uzi. I finally made it over to Jackson Gore. Here's a word of warning. If you parked at the clock tower base, you'll want to make sure you don't get stuck at Jackson Gore, as I did. The mountain closes at 4 p.m., but they closed the Quantum 4 chair right around 3:45. This was really disappointing since it's the only way you would be able to get back to ski to the clock tower base. The only alternative was to take the shuttle bus, which took about 45 minutes because the traffic was so bad, because the parking situation is so bad. Anyway, Jackson Gore is really nice and gives you access to some great long black trails and a fun double diamond glade called Black Hole. This is no West Coast double, but it was fun. It's super late in the day. It's after 3, the mountain closes at 4, and I have to run into the lodge. See how much these chicken fingers are. I popped into Jackson Gore Lodge to check out the vibe and do my obligatory chicken finger and fry research. They were priced at a fairly standard $17.75. After a couple more runs on the greens at Jackson Gore, I found my way out to the shuttle bus and took a ride back to the clock tower base, where I got back to my truck and waited in a bit of traffic to leave the resort. Well, that's going to do it for Okemo. As you can probably tell, I had a pretty good time skiing there. The skiing is really nice, but the infrastructure that supports the mountain, maybe it's the fact that they're now on the Epic Pass and they just have more people than they can handle, but that parking situation put a damper on my day. Nonetheless, it's a great mountain. I would definitely recommend skiing at Okemo, but do it on a weekday. Until next time, I'm Everyday Carl. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you have any questions or comments. Maybe you have a similar experience or a completely different experience at Okemo. In any case, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next one.